And welcome to the IPMA luncheon at Graph Expo 2015 entitled Implants Make a Splash. My name is Howie Fenton. I work for InfoTrends. For anyone who might not know me, I recently joined the staff of InfoTrends in November of last year. I focus on benchmarking and measuring productivity in commercial and implant printers, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today, is how to increase the performance of your implant printing site.
My presentation today, see if my clicker works, there it goes, it's going to be broken down into just several parts, and then at the end of the presentation we've got a panel, and we're going to ask the panel what are some of the things that they're doing that's innovative, that's responsive to the needs of their customers. We're going to go through, I'm going to talk a little bit about the state of the industry, the importance of increasing productivity, value-added services, creating a battle plan, another important lesson that I learned by going to the show in Orlando, and then we'll have our panelists join us and make some presentations.
So the first is the good news, bad news scenario. The good news is a lot of implants, and a lot of implants are doing very well. InfoTrends says, our research says that there's about 47,000 implants, but that includes one person, one machine operations. In addition to that, we think that there's about 20,000. The circulation of Implant Graphics magazine is about 20,000, and that's probably a good indication of the number of implants that actually use production-level equipment. The bad news is more and more companies are under scrutiny. More and more implants are under scrutiny today. As print volumes are declining, companies are taking action based on that decline and not meeting their financial objectives by reducing staff levels or increasing pricing. Oftentimes that results in customers that are less happy, more complaints, which only furthers sort of this downward spiral, resulting in action that needs to be taken in one way or another. The next slide talks about the threat and failures of outsourcing. And one of the results of this downward spiral that we see is that C-level executives are thinking more about outsourcing now. There's an increase of about 4.5% in outsourcing, and a decrease of about 4.8% of implant sites. That's from InfoTrends data. Matt Swain, who works at InfoTrends, tracks this very, very closely. And this is motivating companies offering facilities management services and outsourcing services to knock on the door of your bosses and say, why are you doing this? Print is not your core competency. You're struggling to break even. Your prices are too high. Your customers aren't happy. That's sort of the three things that they talk about when they approach C-level executives. But what they don't talk about, and one of the things that I'm very concerned about, is they don't talk about the fact that outsourcing is not always successful. If you look at this white paper that I'm quoting here, Booz Allen Hamilton, Profits or Peril, the Bottom Line in Outsourcing, what that white paper shows is that 50% of the companies report problems with outsourcing, 25% fail in 2 years, 50% fail within 5 years, and it all comes down to how bids are made on this work, which are based on service level agreements. One of the things that I've been trying to do on the assignments that I work on now is to say, okay, let's truly calculate the total cost of outsourcing, because these companies that come in here and bid on this work don't include these things called exceptions, things that fall outside of the service level agreements. And the last assignment that I worked on, when I calculated the cost of these exceptions to service level agreements, I calculated 279 exceptions, which was almost $500,000 more than what was anticipated in the bid. And if anyone's interested in this white paper, I'd be more than glad to send you a link to it. Just email me at howie.fenton@infotrends.com. What are the reasons that people consider outsourcing? Number one, with a bullet, 56.3% say better pricing. On this next slide, what are the most important concerns? The most important concerns that we hear about from implant managers is the need to reduce manufacturing costs, increase productivity, help reduce your price per product to better battle those threats of outsourcing, and adding more value-added products and services. So, of course, the first thing we need to think about and talk about is how do you increase productivity? Well, it's all about bottlenecks. Bottlenecks are everywhere. When we ask companies where are your greatest bottlenecks, the top 4 are estimating, proofing and approval, job ticketing, finishing and bindery. 2 strategies really help you overcome these bottlenecks. One are software automation tools. So there's web to print, there's PDF workflow solutions, there's print MIS solutions, there's color management solutions. Those all help the number of touches and time required for each touch. The other is simply a process quality initiative in which you start measuring something, charting something, put it on a wall, and you will automatically see an increase in productivity. The other thing we need to talk about is adding more value-added services and products. Number 1 and number 2 fastest growing business areas are digital printing and wide format printing. On this next slide, you can see the growth of wide format is fairly consistent and fairly long, 8.2% compound annual growth until 2018. When we look at the number of wide format devices being adopted in the implant marketplace, we see the number 1 type of product is a latex product. More implants adopt latex, more commercial printers are adopting UV curable. The main reason why is because most of the implant applications are indoors, most of the commercial print applications are outdoors. The path to database services begins with variable data printing. So when we talk about how do you start migrating your products and services and making them more marketing oriented, we talk about specifically how variable data printing is a path towards more marketing services. And you can see here on the slide that the more variable data printing offered, the more implants are growing. There's a direct correlation between the amount of variable data printing offered and the growth that we're seeing in implants. On this next slide, the evolution to marketing services, what we see here is step 1 is offering digital printing and large format printing. Step 2 is web to print solutions. Number 3 is variable data printing software. And then once you have mastered those 3, then you're well on your way to offering more marketing services. Last thing I want to talk about is how to create a battle plan. So here's some things to think about. Are you measuring your performance? Do you have benchmarks? I don't think there's anything more powerful when a facilities management company or an outsourcing company knocks on the door of your boss and says, we can do it better, we can do it faster, we could do it cheaper, than saying, hey, look, we've been measuring our performance, we've been benchmarking against industry leaders, we know exactly where we stand. So whether you use some of the traditional benchmarks that we talk about, sales per employee or payroll as a percentage of revenue, or some of the new benchmarks that we're exploring at InfoTrends, such as utilization rate, or customer satisfaction surveys. Either way, benchmarking, measuring, showing improvement is one of the key ways to really help demonstrate your value. Last thing I want to end on is some questions that I'm going to ask the panel and some questions that you might want to consider yourself. Are you under scrutiny today, or are you actively avoiding scrutiny? Because it's one or the other, right? It's either you're under the threat today, or you're actively avoiding becoming threatened in the future by measuring and benchmarking your performance. What are the things that you're doing to increase your value? Are you focusing in on your productivity? Are you lowering your manufacturing costs? Are you building more value-added services, such as variable data printing, wide format printing? Can you cost justify new hardware and software purchases? That helps you remain more vital or viable, helps you do things faster and maintain lower manufacturing costs. Are you better aligned with, are you strategically aligned with the mission of your parent organization? Are you growing your core products and services? And do you have a battle plan? So if anyone's interested in anything that we talked about, feel free to contact me. Drop me an email, howie.fenton@infotrends.com, or feel free to give me a call. My phone number's right there. Thank you very much. Have a good day.